I'm going to talk to you about how do you narrow your job search now? Because for a lot of people, like I mentioned, when they get an idea that they really want to be involved in sustainability, they take their resume and they look online, where are all the positions, and they just start applying, whether it's a nonprofit, a for-profit, a government agency, and they start rationalizing, oh, I could do all these different things. And they take that massive gunshot approach, and then they're shocked that when they don't hear back from anybody. What you want to be doing is you really want to take a rifle approach. You're going to have much more success if you know who you are, what your elevator pitch is, what are the value and skills that you can bring to a position, and apply for those with the companies and the industries that you want to, than just applying, randomly all over the place. I'll get to it when I talk about networking, but one of the biggest mistakes you can make is when you send out an email to a whole bunch of friends or family members asking for help, it gives them basically plausible deniability. They don't have to respond to you because they see this long list and they see if not that many people are hitting reply all, they don't have to either. But if you send an email to an individual asking for help, and maybe that do you know somebody in these three companies, or do you know these three people? Could you help me connect with them? They're going to feel a sense somewhat of obligation of helping you. So that rifle approach and taking the time to individually go after somebody and talk to them about what they need and how they can help you, that's going to be much more effective. So I'm going to walk you through what I call an opening and closing door exercise. This is one of the most important things you can do. As you go through these slides, you'll see that I talk about, here's the gunshot approach versus the rifle approach. The reality is when I talk with a lot of people, whether they're 40 or 50 and they're trying to add sustainability to their career, whether they're just coming out of their MBA program and want to do sustainability, or they're just coming out from an undergrad, or maybe they're even just in undergrad still and trying to get an internship, that it's all about opening and shutting doors. Now, one of the issues is that people have no problem opening the door. They can send resumes to all these different companies and opportunities, but you have to just as importantly shut that door. And that's where people get freaked out because they're like, what if if I start closing doors, then I'm going to miss out on opportunities. And that's exactly it. But just think about it. If you go to a party and let's say you see that guy or girl and you try and talk to everybody, are you going to leave a lasting impression on anybody? And let's realize there's going to be a lot of people that you're not really that interested in. So you need to start closing doors. So I'm going to use this example in the clean tech sector, where somebody says, well, I could get a job in solar or wind or biomass or small electronic hydro or, all these other different ways that I could get involved in the clean tech sector. In reality, it's like, okay, well, what's your real passion at? Well, maybe it's wind. So you say wind, boom, and then you see all these different organizations and types of jobs that are out there. But as you look at it, you go, some of these I'm not really qualified for. So you're like, oh God, I'm closing the door, what's going on? But you're really getting focused on what you're trying to do. When my wife and I were making a career transition, we knew there were about 10 different cities that we wanted to live in, which we were like, oh my God, we're very narrowing it. But actually by narrowing it, it helped us really focus and determine where are the jobs within those cities that we wanted. So what you've started is with, I want a job in clean energy. Now you start going whoop, 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 and you've decided that you're gonna narrow it down to wind, into this type of job, in this location, and then you're more focused as to where you're going. The same thing can be true of a CSR position. At first you may say, well, I don't care. It can be within a government agency, a nonprofit, a big company, a small company. But then as you start narrowing it down, okay, this is the type of company I want to work for. What's the type of role that you want to do? Well, you might say, well, there's all these different roles, but some you're not qualified for, some you're overqualified for. So you narrow it down. Then again, you figure out, okay, where do I want to work? And in what type of environment? And once you narrow it down and you start saying, this is where I want to work, you can be more effective. It's a whole lot easier when you see on this slide that you want to work in the CSR area, in the private sector, you want to work in supply chain, in Seattle, in CSR. Then people can start going, oh, okay, so you want to work in supply chain in Seattle. Well, here are 5 companies I know that do it. Well, here's some consultants that do that type of service, and they can start doing it. Whereas you say nationally, then they're going to just start handing you stuff in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Biloxi, Mississippi, and you might say, I don't want to work in those places. That's not helpful. So the more narrowed you can get and the more you can focus your job search, the better you're going to be. So once you've gotten clear on the types of jobs you're willing to do and you've done the opening and closing exercise, Then take that time to really write down all those different opportunities and potential companies. Then go through your LinkedIn profile and find out, do you know anybody who's working in that sector or in that industry? Anybody who has a job title in that? Start building your database of people that are in there, because that's going to help you as you start your networking. And as you're doing that search, put it to your Google alerts or your LinkedIn or whatever that says, I may be interested in this, so that information's starting to come about those industries. Because one of the things that'll really help you narrow your job search is you start getting information that's really tailored to that specific thing that you're looking for. All of a sudden, you're gonna start hearing about companies you didn't know about, or companies that you consider that maybe they're not doing anything. You find out great things, or companies that you really held in high regard. You might find out some negative things, and that'll help you say, actually, I don't want to work there. That's an important step, and it's really effective and important towards narrowing your job search.